This cute looking little Cupid is hiding a diabolical secret. Not just a support, not just a lovely, devilly girl, but a hyper carry in disguise. And that's what we're tackling today. Today we're tackling this awesome team composition for Diana. We're gonna be focusing in on one very important aspect, one very important card that sends everything together. And that's going to be with all of my heart, generating heartbreakers in a discard focused team. This is going to allow your Diana to do tons and tons of extra attacks over and over and over. We're gonna be mixing with all of my heart in combination with Pistol of Purification as well as Blooming Love to cycle through our deck and stab our opponents with as many breaking a heart cards as we humanly can. The first starter deck looking for Diana is going to be like this. We're all in on Epiphany 1 of With All of My Heart. This is going to allow us to generate 3 Heartbreakers when we either cast or discard this card, as it has the quietest effect. This is going to generate 3 Heartbreakers and allow us to then discard those Heartbreakers with other cards in our team to do free follow-ups. This is going to be a very AP cost efficient way to do damage with a hyper carry Diana. So the first thing we're looking forward in this deck is to duplicate With All of My Heart as many times as possible. Use all of your duplications on it, and you're gonna have 4 of these bad boys in your deck. Another very important card in here is gonna be the 4th Epiphany of Blooming Love. This is going to allow you to discard up to 3 bullet cards in your hand, and you will be able to draw quietest cards out of your deck for every bullet card you've discarded -1. So if you discard 3 bullet cards, you're gonna be able to get 2 quietest cards out of your deck, allowing you to sort of chain With All of My Hearts together. If you discard or play 1 All of My Heart to generate 3 Heartbreakers, you could then discard those 3 Heartbreakers to Blooming Love and then go find some more With All of My Hearts out of your deck. We also have one final card here as a final payoff, which is going to be this Epiphany of Pistol of Purification. This allows you to have a big ramping damage finisher card at the low cost of 1 AP. And this is going to do 180% base damage with an additional 100% damage amount for every bullet card you have discarded this turn. So if you're using this Epiphany of Pistol Purification and you discard 10 bullets, that's plus 1,000%. If you discard 20 bullets, that's plus a 2,000% damage done on this Pistol of Purification. And with the team composition that we're running her with, it's very possible to discard these bullets 10 to 20 to 30 times easily in a single turn round, allowing Pistol Purification to do some very nice things. This will be the base of the save data for Diana. You can try to mess around with some other stuff like Khmer Milk in Pong, which creates heart shakers instead of heartbreakers. Heart Shaker is going to allow you to do free follow-up stuff as well. Do note though that Khmer Milk and Pong does not have Quietus, and while you can include it in your deck eventually, at the start it's going to be a little, well, AP taxing. Once you see everything come together, you might not have enough AP generation without the correct Divine Epiphanies to add this card into your Diana save data. If you do have enough AP generation for some Divine Epiphanies that we'll talk about in the future, feel free to include Khmer Milk and Pong in your deck just to create some of these heart shakers. This Epiphany right here, where you discard up to 2 cards and then create that many heart shakers +1, is going to be something that you can look at if you want to include Khmer Milk and Pong into your list. Now, when you're looking at the partner selection for Diana, her own partner Sophia is going to be very good for this setup, as it gives you the passive attack % increases, as well as it fits the exact build setup that we're using right now, because we are constantly discarding Passion Quietus cards on this combatant to get that critical damage bonus increase. We're also discarding bullet cards as well for that extra bonus, extra attacks from this partner as well. It is going to be probably by far her best 5-star partner for this setup. However, there are some other ones that you can kind of squeak in here. A lot of the other hunter partners do want you to actively be casting the attack cards in the equipped partner slot. So for Diana, a lot of the stuff that we're doing is follow up attack spam, not really casting attack cards, but even something like Sarithia, for example, that increases the crit chance of our attack cards. You can cast some of these heart breakers that we're generating to get that extra critical damage bonus every time you land a critical hit that will then be applied to the follow-up attacks that you're doing as well. So if you don't have Sophia, look for some of the other hunter partners that you do have. She's going to have at least somewhat a bit of synergy with the passives on a great majority of the hunter partners out there, even working well with something like Carrara for that final finishing blow that we talked about when we're using Pistol of Purification. So there are a fair amount of stuff that you can use, and if you're looking for a nice budget 4-star option, a COD is decent because it's going to increase the bullet card damage of the things that you're casting once you officially get ready to just start hard casting all of the heartbreakers generated by With All of My Heart. But a lot of the times you want to focus on chain dumping them by discarding them repeatedly with the other characters that we're putting into this party. Now, fragment selection for this particular build, the one main downside of Diana right now is she doesn't really have a crazy 4-piece setup that she wants to be using, right? We're not increasing our passion characters damage with the Spark of Passion 4-piece set because we're not using upgrade cards on Diana. We're not doing anything of the sort. So one of the best and easiest things that you can do is actually just run her a 2-piece setup bonus with 2-piece critical damage, 2-piece 12% attack bonus, and then you can just run whatever has the highest stats you're looking for Diana. Or eventually you might be able to run into Epiphany for one of the other characters in your party that will actually inflict the enemy with agony. We'll talk about this when we're pairing her up with Cassius, where you can get a little bit of free damage bonus that way as well. When it comes to equipment selection, you will notice that, well, one of the best things that you can put on her for a legendary piece of gear is still going to be Dimensional Cube. It's going to give you up to a 45% damage amount increase for 1 turn. This was nerfed a while ago and probably was nerfed because the developers had the foresight of Diana being released. If this was the old Dimensional Cube, we'd be looking at like a 300-400% damage bonus in our, well, legendary equipment slot. Do note that there are going to be a couple of other unique pieces of gear that you can use. You are limited to 1, but 2 of the major uniques that are pretty good for Diana as we are talking about her. In the armor slot, you could put it on her, you could put it on somebody else, is Fragment of the Empty Void. This has always been a very good armor equipment, but it gets even better when Diana is in your party, as one of the main things that she wants to do is generate value from discarding cards. And so if you have someone, even Diana, able to discard up to 3 cards and draw that many at the start of your battle, it's going to increase your consistency. It's going to allow you to get value out of her quietest cards for free immediately and then replace them with more card draw. Unique weapon in that slot, something like the Intellect of Discord, is going to be amazing here. 18% attack is fantastic. If you're looking for something that is of the legendary variety, there are a ton of different things that you can use here. If you're looking to get that 10% damage bonus from that Kirp's Core 2-piece setup from your memory fragments, Crimson Sword will allow you to do that as well. 1 time you can use one of your Heartbreakers to inflict that agony. Dagger that Trick the Shadows for bonus crit damage there. If you have a way to apply agony, you can use the Esophagus of Madness. And then obviously there's also the second method that's just simply going to boost the extra attack damage that Diana is doing in your party. So something like this is going to be very easy for you to put together even during the preseason, and hopefully something into season 3. And this base deck as well is going to leave a little bit of room in there to add whatever happens in season 3, season 4, if there is additional Discord synergy, whether it is neutral cards or monster cards, etc. when we get to that point. Now, the first character we're going to be talking about when we're talking about partners for Diana in this team setup is going to be Nia, and this is going to be one of the old school Nia builds that has always been, well, amazing since the launch of Chaos Zero Nightmare. And this Nia deck is very simply just the 5th Epiphany of Adagio, where you discard a card and draw 2 cards of the combatant who owns that card. This is going to allow you to very easily discard some of Diana's cards, go and find more of Diana's cards, where you then discard more Diana cards to find more Diana cards, whether it's going to be her Quietus cards, whether you're just discarding the Heartbreakers that she makes to go and find some of her Quietus cards to then go and play again. This version of Adagio is going to give you the most bang for your buck, and it's going to work very, very, very well with Diana's both Quietus cards as well as the bullet cards that she does generate. If you are lucky and you want a little bit of a change up with your Nia build, an alternative that you could think about is going to be the first Epiphany of Adagio that draws 2 cards and then discards those 2 cards, but those 2 cards that you discarded are moved to the top of your draw pile. This does have a very unique interaction with the Quietus mechanic from Diana's cards, as those cards, when they're discarded, are sent to the used pile dictated by the Quietus mechanic, meaning that if you use this version of Adagio, you draw 2 cards and you discard 2 Quietus cards, those cards are actually going to the used pile instead of back on top of the deck, which allows this version of Adagio to just draw you 2 cards, activate 2 Quietus cards, and you don't have to put anything back on the deck top, which makes this an insane thing to have access to if you're using it specifically for Quietus cards. With that being said, though, when it comes to consistency and being able to loop the different bullets and find the different cards for your different characters and your different teammates, the 5th Epiphany of Adagio is far better. If you do get a run in chaos mode where you're able to, have a split Adagio where you copy it before Epiphanies, you could try to run something with 3 Adagio 5s and 1 first Adagio, but I wouldn't worry too much about that. I did want to note that, though, as it is something that you could do if you're trying to min-max your Nia and Diana synergy. We also have the 3rd Epiphany of Soul Rip here, getting into that extra attack, big damage bonus to help your Diana hyper carry. Soul Rip, this version of Epiphany 3 has retain on it, so you can time it exactly when you want to. And for the entirety of that turn, whenever a card in your hand is discarded, the combatant who owns that card performs a 100% bonus damage extra attack to a random enemy for 1 turn. And we're able to discard a ton of Diana cards over and over and over. So Diana's going to be doing extra attacks by discarding her own Heartbreakers from discard mechanics, and then Soul Rip's going to allow you to do even more extra attacks while it is activated. The final card we're going to be using is Nia's Curiosity. It's her ultimate card, and you're going to just check the top 3, put 1 in your hand, but the other 2 do go into the draw pile. So this card, which was one of the best cards that Nia could have in the first place, gets even better because you can choose to discard the Heartbreakers, the Heart Shakers if you're using them, the Quietus cards off of Nia's Curiosity, and they still will work. You do not have to discard Quietus cards from your hand. You can discard them from your deck. You can discard them from your hand. You don't have to do just the hand. And then the other thing that Nia is adding to this party as well is going to be her EP skill, which allows you to discard your entire deck into the graveyard. And so if you have Quietus cards in there, if you have the Heartbreakers and the Heart Shakers in there, which you'll be able to get 12, 24, 36 as you're rotating through the turns in your Diana deck, in your Diana team, you'll be able to discard all of those cards and do massive amounts of extra attacks from the Quietus and Heartshaker Heartbreaker mechanics. When you're looking at fragment selection for someone like Nia, honestly, there just really isn't anything you need to do. You definitely need to be focusing on ego recovery so you can get access to some of these EP skills like Nia's EP skill. You can also use that very important EP on something like Nyx. Nyx is going to be an insane controller partner, already one of the best, if not the best controller partners in the game. gets even better as it's going to allow you to synergize with discard mechanics once again. When you're looking at equipment selection, as typical Nia stuff, something like Flashbang is going to be okay there. And then once again, the lovely Fragment of the Empty Void is going to pop up as something that you can choose to use there. You also, in the unique slot, you do only get one of them, can also pick the Sphere of Randomness to get that extra AP, to get that extra card draw at the start of the battle for a little bit extra consistency, AP, as well as card generation wise when it comes to this team composition. You can't run both of them, but you know, those are the top two for you to be picking up for Nia when you're looking at putting together save data for her. And the final character in this team composition is going to be none other than the man himself, Cassius. He's going to be here for his traditional quest Pop-Eyed Popper shenanigans, where you pick full house and you cast a card from each of your different teammates, which rewards you with a quest reward that helps you draw a card per turn. So Pop-Eyed Popper, choose a quest on full house, is going to net you 3 cards per turn. We're also using the 5th Epiphany of Devil Dice, cost 0, draws us 1 card, and it's a very easy way for Cassius to help complete his own quests and fulfill that full house condition. And then Joker is here, obviously. We're finding the best card in our draw pile, or if you have E1 in your discard pile as well. The other big thing that we're doing with Cassius here is this is probably the first time that Cassius has a reason to go all in on duplicating as many shuffles as possible. And there's going to be 3 different versions of shuffles that you can use in this Diana, Nia, and Cassius strategy. So the first one that we want to talk about here is the first Epiphany of a shuffle. This one has exhaust 2 on it. It's going to discard all of the cards in your hand. You will draw a card for every card that you have discarded. Obviously, the best situation is that we have a hand of 10 cards. 9 of them are Heartbreaker / Heartshaker. 1 of them is Shuffle. You cast the Shuffle, you discard 9 Heartbreaker / Heartshakers, right? And then you go ahead and you draw 9 new cards. Hopefully one of them is a Shuffle. And you're able to, between Cassius, Nia, as well as Diana, filter through the deck, discard everything, cast all your 0 drops, right? Cast all your Adagios on your Nia, cast your Nia's Curiosities, cast your Soul Rip. You'll have a very low amount of things you actually need to spend AP on in any given turn for your different characters. For example, Blooming Love and Pistol of Purification are probably the only 2 things you'd ever want to spend AP on your Diana. When it comes to Nia, the only thing you'd ever want to spend AP on is Soul Rip. Nia's Curiosity, I think at E1 becomes a 0 cost as well. So there's very few things you want to spend AP on your Nia and on your Diana. And what you can do with Cassius is choose to spend a lot of your AP on this shuffle. So the first Epiphany of Shuffle has the exhaust 2 on it, and this is a way for you to generate a bunch of discards, to do a bunch of free attacks off of the Heartbreakers, off of the Heartshakers, as you're casting all of the other cards we just talked about that are 0 cost or have Quietus, and you're discarding them. Those are all going to the used pile, and at the end of the day, the only thing you're going to have left in your deck, even on your first round of combat, is going to be a bunch of Heartbreakers and a bunch of Heartshakers. You'll be able to just chain a bunch of shuffles together, discarding them, doing a bunch of extra attacks, drawing a new hand, casting Shuffle again, drawing and discarding them there. The downside of the first Epiphany of Shuffle is that, well, you have to discard your entire hand. The upside is that you have 2 uses, so 2 combat rounds to do it, to generate as many different discards for Diana as humanly possible, allowing you to make, well, 12 Heartbreakers the first turn and then 12 more the second turn, while churning through the entirety of your deck, and then finally ending the combat with like a Nia EP skill. The other Epiphany that you can choose to use is the second Epiphany of Shuffle, that allows you to discard any number of cards from your hand and then draw that many cards. This is going to be a much more consistent version of Shuffle. The downside of Epiphany 2 versus Epiphany 1 is that Epiphany 2 only has exhaust 1. So you cast this and then you're done. So this is sort of a super hyper turn 1 kill focused Epiphany for Shuffle that you are going to be picking for Cassius, but it does allow you to, for example, discard all of your quietest cards, all of your heartbreakers, all of your heart shakers, and then choose not to discard the other shuffle that you might have in your hand. Choose not to discard something that you might want to time for later, like Pistol of Purification. Which one is better is going to be dependent on what your goals are for your team. And honestly, at this point in time, you could probably make 2 different versions of Cassius, one with Epiphany 1 and one with Epiphany 2. Now, there is one other Epiphany 4 shuffle that we also want to talk about, and this is less of the super high payoff version of this shuffle extra attack spam strategy for Diana, and this is going to be Epiphany 5 of shuffle. So Epiphany 5 of shuffle does not have exhaust, and what it's going to do is you're simply going to draw 3 cards, and if the total of those cards is 4 or less, you are going to discard them all. The upside of this is that it just plays right into the game plan of Diana in Nia in the strategy that we're doing. This basically just says a lot of the times, discard the top 3 cards of your deck. It's going to activate all of those heartbreakers that are there, all those heart shakers that are there, any of the quietest cards from Diana that are there, which helps you generate more heartbreakers and more heart shakers. And it just allows you to do that turn after turn after turn after turn. So this is going to be the best Epiphany for very long fights with Diana, whereas Epiphany 1 and Epiphany 2 are going to be better at mid-range fights or extremely short fights with the highest amount of control over what you're doing. Highest amount of control being Epiphany 2. Mid longevity but high combo potential is Epiphany 1, and then just very long fights where you don't want to get penalized by having your combo tied to exhaust cards like the exhaust versions of shuffle will be Epiphany number 5. And just like with Nia, the equipment selection for Cassius as well, either Fragment of the Empty Void if you can, or Sphere of Randomness. Pick one of those 2 and you're going to be having a good time there. And if you can pick up a flashbang on one of the 2 of them to apply weakened to your opponents, that's going to be a good thing there. In the armor slot, if you're looking for something as well, do keep in mind that Vined Camouflage can help you out in sticky situations in some of the harder pieces of content every once in a while, as it's going to give you evade if your health does drop below 30%, although a lot of the time it's really not that big of a deal. And when it comes to partner selection, hey man, did you buy that second battle pass? Do you have that second copy of Nyx? Good to go there, buffing up the damage of everyone in your party and also giving you access to a very powerful discard ego skill. When it comes to fragment selection for Cassius, Glory's Reign 4-piece here is going to be just free damage bonuses for your Diana, as you are going to be able to generate or use exhaust skill cards, whether you're using the exhaust version of shuffle or whether you are just simply casting the quest cards that Cassius is using. This is going to give you up to 15% damage amount bonus to Diana with a very easy way to do it, as it just meshes entirely well with the design of Cassius and the build that we're using. Now, when it comes to divine epiphanies, if you're trying to add some divine epiphanies that would be important for each character, if you look at With All of My Heart, if you can get a divine epiphany on this card that allows you to just draw a card, this will be very strong as well, as it's going to give you the ability to not just discard the card with Nia or discard the card with Cassius, generate those heartbreakers, or to get a ton of value that way. Remember, Quietus allows you and always actually activates the card when it is discarded, allowing you to gain the benefit off of the card draw here as well. It's far from necessary, as you're already using Nia and Cassius to draw a ton of cards, but if you do gain access to this divine epiphany on With All of My Heart, and you have no need in the future for extra neutrals, extra faint memory points going towards something else, and you want to add a little bit of consistency to your deck, getting the divine epiphany, draw one card on With All of My Heart is going to be pretty cool for you there. A more important divine to get for someone in your party is going to be Nia's Adagio 5. So as we talk about it, if you paid attention, if you wanted to cast all of these shuffles that actually have a cost. That's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 AP, Joker 5 AP. Nia also will want to cast this. That's 6 AP total. And then Diana is going to want to cost Blooming Love as well for an additional AP. So if you get the Nia Divine Epiphany on Adagio 5, which gives you 1 AP when cast, this is the thing that you should 100% be trying to target if you're trying to target one of these three to have a Divine Epiphany deck. It's also going to give you the most amount of flexibility, as you're going to have Nia married to Diana, and you can use a third person with those two of them. And having the extra AP on Adagio Epiphany 5 is going to go a long way for you there. However, another Divine Epiphany that you could think about is actually going to be attached to Cassius's Shuffle. So if you're using the first or second version of the Epiphany for Cassius's Shuffle, you can actually get a Divine Epiphany that reduces the cost of the card by 1 as well. You do not need both of Nia's Divine Epiphany plus 1 AP in Cassius's -1 cost on the card. You do not need that at all. But if you can get either or of them, but getting one of them makes this team very AP efficient and just makes it so you can cycle through your deck 100% of the time, every single round, without ever having to worry about AP. You're just gonna be drawing cards, discarding cards, generating heart bullets, generating heartbreakers, doing damage that way, and then eventually popping off with Nia's EP skill, discarding all of those heartbreakers that you've had saved up in your deck from generating them over the course of 2 or 3 different rounds, and finishing the opponent off in a very amazing manner. This will form a very solid basis of a Diana hypercarry team for you, with 2 easy to access 4-star characters in the form of Nia as well as Cassius. I've had a blast playing this team so far. If you guys want to see more stuff on CZN or just future content in general, make sure you drop a like down below. Let me know what's going on. God bless out there, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.